Welcome back, everyone. We are in college football week 4. Ay, ay, ay. ESPN the Quattro. It is a wild first few weeks of the season. We got a lot of good matchups to break down. As always, it's Kevin, Seth, and Steve with you. BTB Analytics. We got Friday Night Lights. We got a packed Saturday slate. We got model predictions. All of it. You're going to want to stick around. Let's get right into it.
Give a damn about a hater when I feel like it. Not today, not today, not today, not tomorrow. Get out my way, please. I'm trying to get paid. Not today, not today.
Seth, Steve, good to be with you guys again. Another long weekend in the books. Turning the page to week 4. The grind, the hustle never stops, baby. So we are moving and trucking along. A lot of good matchups to break down, I think, again, for this week. A lot of conference play starting for some teams. So want to get into some right off the bat here. Let's just jump in. Another Friday Night Lights matchup. How about it? 2 ranked teams at that.
Oh, yeah.
Illinois going up against Nebraska. So I got a question for you, Seth, to kick this one off here. I guess Nebraska with Dylan Raiola, behind the helm here.
Yeah.
They're not like world beaters all of a sudden, but they definitely have improved their offensive efficiency from last season. 113th in EPA per game when passing last year, and now 41st, respectable. But this is an interesting matchup because my question is, can Illinois do what it needs to, in my opinion, that's run effectively to counter the defensive pressure and the pass rush that Nebraska used to shut down Colorado in order for this one to be a close game?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. And there are some similarities in this game, but there's also some very big differences from that Colorado game. First and foremost, Illinois is really good throwing the football, just like Colorado was. I don't think they're as bad as Colorado was, though, in the rush. We're talking about the 18th best passing efficiency for Illinois and the 81st rushing attack here. And Nebraska is really good on the defensive side. They're 39th against the pass and 74th against the run. So my question here is, if we look at the run rate over expected, Illinois is almost right at 0, meaning this is a really balanced attack. I'm really curious on when we looked at this matchup with Nebraska versus Colorado, one of the things that stuck out to us was Colorado had to throw the ball, and that was the only thing they could do. I'm curious here if Illinois can get the ball running on the ground and have any level of success. Will that, basically get them close enough so that they can start throwing the ball like they want to and have a little bit more of that potent offense? So that's, to me, the question here. Nebraska's offense is making improvements. There's no doubt about this. And I think they're right on path there. The interesting thing here is they're kind of forcing it a little bit, in my opinion. Their run rate over expected is about negative 6%, which means they're throwing the ball about 6% more than an average team. But you kind of already talked about it. They're a little bit better rushing than they are throwing, and that's their strength. But yet they're kind of forcing the pass. So are they going to do that in this game? I think that, to me, is a really big question. If they force that pass a lot in this game, they're kind of on an upset alert. Illinois is the 25th best passing defense. So if I'm Nebraska, I'm a little scared here. Like, this is no walk in the park. This is a much better team than Colorado was, in my opinion. And I think there is kind of some strength on weakness a little bit here that Illinois may be able to exploit.
Steve, to that point, the market has been buying Illinois really since open. This opened at 10, minus 10 in favor of Nebraska's pretty much at 7.5 now throughout the market. So to Seth's pointer, what do you think the market's buying here with Illinois?
Yeah, I mean, you're thinking about a team that, quite frankly, is a lot better than Colorado, and I think it's going to be the toughest team that Nebraska has faced so far. And listen, give credit where credit is due. Nebraska has played great, but kind of like Seth alluded to, like, this is not a team in Illinois that Nebraska has faced just yet. You talk about the passing and the run balance attack. I kind of differ a little bit here. I don't know if I mean, yes, you have to obviously run the ball. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think Illinois has to force anything or lean on anything because their passing is going to be that efficient. So put it in perspective, right? So with Illinois and Luke Altmaier at quarterback here, they have a 0.55 pass expected points added per play. All right. I know that's a random number. Let me put it into perspective for you. All right. When Nebraska faced UTEP, they had a 0.39. And when they faced Colorado, who we think of this team that just throws the ball, Sanders throwing the ball all up and down the field, they had a 0.26 EPA per pass attempt. So this is something where Nebraska is just so much more efficient than Illinois is just so much more efficient than anyone Nebraska has faced. And then on the defensive side of the ball, where Nebraska is shining, and we talk about Dylan Raiola, and he's been playing great as a freshman, don't get me wrong, but same kind of thing. They have not faced a pass defense as tough as Illinois is going to bring to the table. Put it in perspective, pass defense EPA, Illinois, negative 0.1, UTEP 0.25, Colorado 0.36. So this to me is going to be the first prove-it game that Nebraska is going to have. I know we hyped up the Colorado matchup, but we've been talking all this year about how Colorado is not good on the defensive side of the ball. The difference is Illinois is. And so if Nebraska is going to cover this game, Raiola's going to have to step up. He's going to have to keep pace by pace with Luke Altmaier, and I'm not sure they're going to do it. So 9 was way too much, 10 was way too much, and I'm pretty surprised it hasn't gone through to 7 just yet, but we'll wait to see what happens by Friday.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to see, I think, pretty big support out of 7. Yeah, I don't know. That's a fair point. I mean, but there's just been constant buying on Illinois, almost pretty much unabated. I think we bet a 9.
We got a 9, so not terrible for us.
I agree with you here. This Illinois team is good, and they're good on both sides of the ball, and that's kind of I would say maybe a breath of fresh air for Illinois fans. Like, I feel like they've had really good defenses in the past couple of years, but just couldn't really have the offense. But this is shaping up to be typical Big Ten football. Like, it's probably a little crisp. I can't remember. Is this in Illinois? No, this is in Nebraska. So it's definitely a little crisp. The fall's here. Friday night lights. Don't be surprised if Illinois pulls the upset. This is Raiola's kind of first big game, is it not? I mean, the Colorado game was big because Colorado has the eyeballs on it, but Colorado's not a good team.
Right.
Yes. Big difference.
And neither is no disrespect to UTEP, but like this is their first real test. Yeah.
And I mean, what happened in that second half? I mean, Nebraska did they score once? I mean, it's not like they came out and just, we're going up and down the field. I mean, obviously the game plan is going to change when they were winning by whatever they were winning by, but I'd be really not concerned in Nebraska. Obviously they're going to have a game plan. They're going to play the game, but if you're a bettor here, be cautious. This is not the time to be like, oh, favorites all day on Friday night. This is a game where Illinois definitely has a chance.
Yeah. Now, I will say, have you guys been caught up in this whole Dylan Raiola, Patrick Mahomes clone thing? Have you guys been following that?
Yeah. The PMT boys are pretty heavy on the hate. I kind of don't get it. Like the kid's I think he's literally 18.
Yeah, he's a freshman. Yeah.
You know how much dumb shit I did when I was 18, like trying to this dude's trying to emulate like somebody that's, I don't know, a couple years ahead of him. Like, good for him. Yeah, it's working.
Yeah. Right.
I know there are far worse things to be imitating, than the greatest quarterback who's ever.
Yeah,
lived.
Exactly. I'm just jealous. I can't grow a mullet.
Fair enough. Yeah. All right. That Friday Night Lights. Yeah, that should be a good matchup to kick off the week. Again, we're on Illinois +9. So we'll see what the market does the rest of the week here. Moving on to the Saturday slate. Another packed slate, in my opinion. So looking at one of the earlier games, we got USC going up against Michigan. This one's fascinating for a number of reasons, in my opinion. So this opened at 3 and is now at 5.5 in favor of USC. So Big Ten debut for USC as well. Steve, I want to ask a question to you. So obviously we've heard the news by now. Davis Warren out, Alex Orji in for Michigan. That, in my opinion, seems more of a desperation move than any sort of calculated, like, oh, this guy is the answer. He's gonna really fix our offensive woes. If he was the guy to begin with, they would have went with him. But how much uncertainty, in your opinion, does that add to this game? Because last thing I'll say is Orji has attempted 7 passes since he's been at Michigan. In 3 seasons, he's attempted 7 passes. So what can we really expect from this offense in Michigan specifically?
I don't know if it really introduces any uncertainty, because we've been seeing them kind of go back and forth all throughout the season. And the reality is, when you have Orji in the backfield, like, it's literally just a wildcat offense. And that's been his biggest issue, right? Has been the inconsistency throwing the ball. And so what you've been doing all year is you've been trading off passing accuracy for running ability, scrambling ability to kind of get away from that deep pressure so they're not so one-dimensional. But I don't think it's going to work. And that's my biggest question here, because give credit where credit is due. D'Anton Lynn has that USC defense much, much improved than it was last year. And to put this into perspective, you look at the PFF quarterback grades for Davis Warren versus Alex Orji. Davis Warren has a passing grade of 76.8 and a running grade of 55.5. Okay. When you look at Alex Orji, he has a passing grade of 56.6, so about 20 points less, and a running grade of 66.9, so about 10 points more. I mean, that's a perfect sort of encapsulation of what's happening here. My problem is I don't think it's going to matter, because if Michigan cannot get pressure on Miller and Moss, it is going to be a long day. And you cannot trust Alex Orji to throw the ball, and you cannot trust Davis Warren to sit back there for these long one-dimensional pass plays. He's going to get eaten alive. So Michigan has to figure out something early. I expect it'll be a lot of ground and pound, keep Miller and Moss on the sideline, because if not, then this has the potential of a blowout, in my mind.
Yeah. So to your point, Kevin, I mean, why they did this, I think the data they're looking at the same data I am. Michigan, 102nd pass efficiency, 44th rush efficiency. So to your point, Steve, I mean, they've been kind of subbing these guys in and out. They're basically saying we're going all in on the run. And what's this guy do better than throwing the ball? He can run the hell out of the ball. I think that run rate over expected right there, 0.39%. These are rookie numbers. You're going to need to bump these numbers up, and they're going to be running the hell out of the ball. The question here, though, is to the point of Steve is, this USC's defense is improved, but it's not good. It's not world beater. I mean, we're still looking at 66th against the pass, 61st against the rush. So this is a team that no doubt is still susceptible against really good, offenses if need be. And we saw that in the LSU game. I mean, they were able to move the ball down the field. They're much better than they were last year, but I would almost call this more of an average defense. I went back because, my kind of lazy brain initially was like, oh, okay, well, this is just Texas 2.0. But it's not really, because I think that USC is not as efficient in the pass. And I agree Miller Moss is good, and maybe this can be a blowout, but I don't know that it's a slam dunk like the Texas game was, where we thought that they're just going to be able to throw the ball at ease and kind of do whatever they want. We're still looking at a pass EPA for USC that's ranked 40th. So we're still not talking about the best passing attack in the nation here. Really, they're more efficient on the ground right now, 22nd. So I do lean USC. The model leans USC here. I don't know that I'm super eager to bet blowouts or anything like that, just because if we think Michigan is going to be running the ball at a higher rate than they're already running, you're eating clock. If we think that USC is maybe going to try to ground and pound as well, because they're a little bit more efficient there, and maybe that opens up the pass later in the game, I just don't know if a blowout is as probable.
I think this game is going to be won or lost in the first half, quite frankly. I'm not trying to sound like, all, dramatic and whatnot, but I have not seen anything that convinces me that you can trust this team to be one-dimensional. So to your point, Seth, I think they're going to go in with a game plan. And as long as that game plan is keeping them within 7-10 points, 100%, I think it's going to be what you expect. If they get down 14 or more because of whatever happens, I don't know what Michigan's going to do. And I look at this Arkansas State game last year, like, as a team, I mean, to your point about defenses and where USC has been at, I mean, by all means, Arkansas State should be a team that Michigan should have easily put away. And they started off strong, and then that fourth quarter came, and it got a little side. It was not really in jeopardy. It's not get crazy, right? But the eye test versus the data test. I mean, this is all about entertainment versus what professional sports betting looks like. I'm just, as a fan, I am a little concerned.
What has USC done defensively? So like they've gone up against LSU, and I guess they had a couple of big stops, but I mean, they won that game in my opinion offensively. And then offensively, have they played one good defense yet?
For USC,
for USC,
yeah, not to the caliber of Michigan.
No, not yeah. So
close.
I mean, the raw model here, just to put in perspective, like the raw model of the Texas number is 22. The raw model here, 7.5. So
yeah. And I guess, and then not to go back and forth, but I guess, and I'm not trying to be rhetorical, but my question would be is, and you make a great point about the defense, but what has Michigan's offense done against poor defenses, or has Michigan's offense been, besides Texas, been so shut down because of good defenses, or is this what we should expect against an average defense because Michigan's offense is just so poor? And I don't really know the answer to that. I think we'll find out more during the season.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing here is run rate over expected. Like they're going to run this. They're going to run.
Yeah, they're going to have
60
to.
times.
Agreed.
Okay,
Agreed.
so my last question on this: which for Michigan, which side of the ball has to have a better performance? Does the defensive side has to do their thing and stop Miller Moss and company, or does the offense with Orgy have to show us something that they haven't this season for them to win?
I would answer it that they have to show us the little that we think we know about them. They have to do it really well, which is they have to show us that they can run the hell out of the ball efficiently and effectively and score that way. I think if they do that, this is an interesting game. Even if we get an okay Michigan defense, like just being able to score is going to be a breath of fresh air, I think.
Yeah, for me, it's got to be defense. It's got to be defense because you're relying on that defense to keep you into a game plan. I mean, if Davis Warren is going, what was he, 11 for 14, no tutties, 3 picks against Arkansas State, I shudder to think what USC can. Again, I know USC's on a world beater defense, but they are capable. And if you don't have the opportunity or the luxury of running the ball and ground and pounding that way through, this just could get out of hand. That's just my fear.
So I just pulled it up. The market's been buying this. We're now at 5.5, 5.5, and 6 in the market. So some buying on Michigan.
Okay.
Definitely. All right. I don't know if you guys are watching, let us know what you think in the comments though, because this is going to be a very fast and very telling game, in my opinion, about who Michigan can be for the course of the rest of the season. If they lose this game, playoff hopes take a hit. Obviously, Big Ten hopes. I mean, you're talking about
5.5. Where are you guys betting? I feel like I have to take USC here. I just feel like they're the more proven team here.
Yeah. If anything, I feel less comfortable on the spread than I did. I mean, I can't quantify this per se, but I probably like the under in the game.
Just so much running.
Just so much running, and so much, in my opinion, again, uncertainty with Orgy that I'm gonna play the probabilities that he is not gonna be able to push the ball down the field, or else he'd be in there and he'd have been doing it already. So we'll see. It should be a good one. I'm very excited to see how this matchup plays out. Again, guys, if you're tuning in, appreciate you. Don't forget to like the video, hit subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Helps us out tremendously. We do these shows every single week for you guys, and we got a lot more matchups to break down as well. So let's get to the next one on the slate, shall we? Utah versus Oklahoma State. The return of Cam Rising. He's back.
He is risen.
He is risen. So this opened at Oklahoma State -2 and some very interesting movement. It's now at +2.5, largely to the Rising effect. Cam Rising coming back. So that report came out, at this point, kind of a day and a half or so ago. So Seth, let me know how you're thinking about this matchup, because huge in terms of Big 12 kind of jockeying positioning.
Yeah.
And huge for under 9.5 Utah wins that we got. But the one guy that's, in my opinion, been MIA from Oklahoma State is Ollie Gordon and the rushing attack and efficiency. So what needs to happen in this game for them to take this?
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, Oklahoma State's really been getting it done through the air. They're 21st in pass EPA, but they're 98th in rush EPA. So to your point, Ollie Gordon has kind of been non-existent. The interesting thing here is Utah's defense is better against the pass. They're 23rd, but on rush, they're the 59th best EPA defense against the rush. So if there is a game that Ollie Gordon's going to get right, this might be it. And if you've got a guy that you want to try to lean on, this is probably the game. Utah, to me, is a little bit of a second-class citizen here. I really want to like Oklahoma State here, but I think ultimately, once I break down the data, the market is kind of right on point. I think this is really a tough game. Both teams do something well, and the kind of other team, basically does that well on the other side of the ball. I think both these teams are kind of somewhat balanced on the pass. I mean, you can see there that Oklahoma State, like I said, is getting it done through the air, but I don't know if that's what they're going to do in this game. I think they're going to probably try to run the ball a little bit more and get that going. Weighted EPA, though, is quite interesting. When, again, we've talked about this before, trying to look at types of plays that are more correlated with winning and covering. We actually see that Utah pulls away and actually has a little bit better of a weighted EPA, even though if you look at pass and run EPA, the Oklahoma State is better. So I think that's quite interesting. But ultimately, we're talking about the 40th versus the 46th weighted EPA offenses. I think that this is a coin flip game. The other thing I can say is this kind of a first step up in class for talent for Utah? Baylor is kind of a mediocre to bad team, whereas Oklahoma State had to play an SEC team already, right? And come back from that, and that was obviously a crazy game. But who was Utah played? And Cam Rising got injured in that Baylor game. I mean, they were doing work, but I mean, that's when he went down. So he didn't even finish that game.
It was Baylor. I forget who else they played, but I guess your point is nobody.
Total teams.
Utah State, right? Just came back. That's the
Utah State. Yeah. Okay. And then some other, third class team, second class. I'm not.
You're uncertain. You're uncertain about this.
Yeah, this is just a well priced line. Like I hate to be super hand wavy. If you want me to put my DGen hat on, like happy to do it. Oklahoma State, let's do it. Give me the points. Like I'm just gonna stay blindly fading Utah. I don't think this is a team that's gonna get it done. We saw how susceptible they were if Cam Rising goes down. The dude is like 100 years old. He's super injury prone. We've already seen it, and I think that this could be a big step up in class.
The quarterback for Oklahoma State is also up there. He's like 24, something like that. I saw some wild stat where the combined age of these two starters in this game was 49, and like the combined age in half the NFL games this past weekend was under that. So some just nonsense, wild stuff.
But one of the projects that I worked with previously with our previous analyst was like, what is correlated with recruiting and like performance, and you're actually teams that have the most amount of 4 and 5 star recruits that are juniors are kind of the best teams. Why? Because if you're a senior and you're good, you go to the NFL. You don't just stick around and like hang out and drink beer. You want to go get paid millions of dollars. So it isn't necessarily the great thing that you're really old in college. Like that kind of means you're not. You could go make millions of dollars if you could, but you can't. So you stay, right? That's the reality. Now, obviously, NIL makes that a little bit different, but the reality, if Cam Rising is worldly talent, he would go. He would leave.
Once again, I feel like we're going to say this every week. If you don't pay the right people, shit out of luck. Shout out Nick Saban.
Well, they paid the wrong person in Cam Rising, in my opinion.
Do you agree with that, Steve, or you got anything else on this one?
Yeah, I have a couple things on this game. One, I do think it's a well-priced line. I think the movement, if it's true, is justified. So I know you guys saw here, right? Like, so this whole report of Cam Rising playing came from Josh Furlong, who's the beat writer for the Utah Utes, and he said that wide receiver Dorian Singer said that Cam Rising is good to go. Now, he was being made available to the media, which is a good sign. And, their head coach, Kyle Whittingham, has since come out and said the plan is to have Cam back for this week. So I'm not entirely sure that, one, Rising is for sure playing, and two, if he does play, how effective is he going to be with that lacerated finger? So we'll see how that goes. Either this is great investigative reporting or the greatest head fake of all time. So time will tell, right? Now, taking the conspiracy hat off, I agree with both of you guys. This has to be the game that Ollie Gordon II gets going, right? Last year, he was the nation's leading rusher at over 1,700 yards, averaging 124 yards per game. This year, he's 56, and against FBS opponents, he's averaging 45 yards per game. That's just not going to get it done. And that's exactly why you see that negative 11% run over expected rate. They had a game plan all of last year, and they can't use it anymore because Gordon hasn't gotten going. Now, to be fair, OK State and Alan Bowman has been slinging the ball. He's been playing really good football, but he can't do it alone. Now, I will say it will be interesting, though, because O-line is actually where OK State's strength is at. They're one of the very few teams who have yet to give up a sack this season. So it'll be interesting to see, kind of an unstoppable force meets a movable object in terms of what works well and what gives off first. But as the season goes, if Ollie Gordon can't get this thing going, I mean, OK State has a very tough slate of games against ranked opponents coming up in the next few weeks. If they can't get this run game going, they got to rely just on Bowman. This probably does spell a little bit of trouble for their Big 12 hopes.
Yeah, I agree. One of the stats that jumped out to me that I didn't cover here was, if we can pull that back up, is the echo rate over expected on defense for Oklahoma State. If you want to be a Utah backer, that's a really disturbing number. What that number means is they are allowing teams to get to the 40-yard line or better at a 13.8% rate greater than average. So basically, they're letting teams drive a lot on them. Now, the problem with this is an artifact of a really good Arkansas team that was able to move the ball against them. And as we speak now, we only have 3 games worth of plays. And is Utah able to do that? But the answer is yes. This game could be, a lot tighter than maybe, well, the line is basically a pick 'em. So, I mean, that plays into it, but that's a key there. If you're seeing, I mean, that's a huge driver in our model. If you're seeing that, like, Utah cannot run the ball, they can't move the ball. I mean, it's going to be a long day for Utah. If they can, then it's going to be pretty close and maybe a shootout.
Okay, should be interesting. Yeah, a lot of dominoes to fall as far as the Big 12 battles go after coming out of this one. So we'll see how it all plays out.
RIP Arizona.
Hey,
well, I mean, hey, listen,
don't put the nail in the coffin yet.
Yeah, we're still 0-0 in Big 12 play.
I'm not putting the nail in the coffin. I'm just preparing the shovels, refreshments.
He's got it prepared. He's got it ready.
In the eulogy written.
Conniving.
Yeah. Deposit.
This is premeditated murder.
I mean, SMU Arizona's parlays are dead. Let's just say.
Yeah. Okay. I'll give you that. All right. Let's get to another one though. This one, from my opinion, might be one of the better ones of the weekend. We got Tennessee going up against Oklahoma. Welcome to the SEC for Oklahoma. First divisional or conference matchup for them. Okay, I want to talk about one angle with you guys here and see what you think here, because I have a sneaky suspicion this one could get ugly. I'm not ready to pronounce like alt season like we were talking about with Texas and Michigan a couple weeks ago, but some interesting things that I was finding as I was kind of doing some prep for this is, okay, Oklahoma is undefeated. They have not necessarily dominated in those 3 wins.
No.
Unlike Tennessee. Tennessee has absolutely just mopped the floor with everybody who they've played so far. But digging a little bit deeper with Oklahoma, they were held scoreless in the second half against Houston, concerning in a little bit in its own right, but then only scoring 1 second half touchdown in the game against Tulane. So my thought or my question to you guys here is, I don't know if there's some systematic issue going on with them that pretty much at halftime they either fall apart or just their efficiency plummets. But if this game is close, remotely close at halftime even, I'm looking at some kind of halftime hammer on Tennessee, because it's hard for me to pinpoint anything that says, number one, Oklahoma could slow down Tennessee, and number two, I have not a high level of confidence that Oklahoma is going to be able to sustain whatever efficiency they can for 4 full quarters.
I think all of what you said is fair. I would really challenge you in that you don't have the data you think you have. You don't have any SEC games for either of these teams. Now, I understand the sample makes you want to believe that in those teams that Oklahoma's playing, that, well, when they do step up in talent, it's going to be, a hard time for them. But you can see the team talent roster. Oklahoma has, quote unquote,
very
more
similar
dudes. Yeah, it's very similar. But, technically speaking, this is a more talented roster for Oklahoma. And the one thing that they have done well in this season is defense. And now, to your point, Kevin, Oklahoma has done better against the rush than they have against the pass. 67th defending the pass, 18th against the rush. And ironically, Tennessee's been stronger on the ground on a per-play basis. Now, I understand you're seeing these huge explosive plays that Tennessee's pulling off, and some of that is in the air. A lot of that's been in the air. But if you look at a per-play basis, Tennessee, although they're blowing teams out, they're actually better on the run. I don't think that you're crazy for this. I just don't think we have the data that we think we have yet. I mean, getting a real true SEC matchup for both of these teams, I think, is a huge deal. And then the other thing here that I would say, I'm keying in on as something that's a big question mark here. Look at the Echo rate over expected, 50%. This means that Tennessee is getting to the 40-yard line or better, 50% more than an average team. That's insane. But we know that's driven by one game, Kent State. Now, this is an ironic sample as well. Both these teams have basically played the worst two teams in college football, and they beat the shit out of both of them.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting. I can see the angle you're getting at. Tennessee does have way more offensive weapons here. When we look at Oklahoma, 116th in the past, 76 against the run. And to your point, the teams they have played aren't very good. So that is disturbing to me. The only thought I had here is this the last chance to get Tennessee to make the playoff or Tennessee a national championship? Because to your point, Kevin, if you're right and this is a blowout and this is our first SEC game, those prices are going to be long gone.
You're right about that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's all very well said. I really don't have much more to add on to that. I think Seth, you're pretty spot on. I think from a fan standpoint, we're all looking at this as this is going to be the Jackson Arnold versus the Nico Iamaleava showdown, and really Nico was just impressed way more. Now, yes, of course, you're looking at early season games against lower tier opponents, if you will, but I mean 65 points and a half, Jesus. So I think it's definitely speculative, don't get me wrong, but you are a little concerned about what Oklahoma has done against teams that they should have done more with, and they haven't. Now, it doesn't mean that doesn't mean that that's a direct translation as to what's going to happen this weekend, but it does give you cause for alarm. And I think for most people, it's easier to internalize that you're getting a consistent Tennessee team that you've seen. And if you get the same consistent Oklahoma team we've seen so far, Oklahoma's in trouble. But the question is, will that actually happen? And that remains to be seen. So I'm with you. Like, this is not something I think it's easy to get into the hype of it being at a touchdown and, what we've seen so far. But this is one where even though I think Tennessee is truly the far better team, I wouldn't feel comfortable at 7 hook. Put it that way.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. And to kind of counter my own thought process on this too, like pay attention, listening to what the market has been doing. Not much. This opened at 6 and has only moved to a 7. It's still early in the week, but there's not been a huge Tennessee backing, to this point. So, I just
the angle here, Kevin. I mean, to give you, I don't know, if a lot like first drive, Oklahoma gets the ball. The thing that if you look at the data, obviously Tennessee from visual tests, when you look at them when they're beating up Kent State, how many they scored like something like 60 points or something in the first quarter, like just insanity. You hone in on that, but when you actually look at the per play basis, Tennessee's defense is arguably better than their offense. I mean, we're talking about the 29th pass defense and the 7th rushing defense for Tennessee. If Oklahoma, who has struggled against Houston, they kind of struggled against Temple, to be honest, and then, to your point, Tulane a little bit in the second half.
Yeah.
If they're 3 and out, I'm not like I wouldn't go full degen. But that might be the only data you need this Tennessee defense is going to be for real. I don't need to see what's going to happen on the offensive side of the ball because at minimum, I'm going to cover that one possession, spread. I think that's not a crazy angle to get, a little bit of data and try to extrapolate it because we have not seen any basically real success out of Oklahoma on offense. And so this Tennessee defense is the real deal. And that could be the major driver of a blowout, to be honest, more so than the offense.
Yeah, and just to put a bow in it for my own sake, Tennessee defense again, number 10 in the country, third down success rate, as actually all down success rate. So number 10 in both categories. Contrast that with the Oklahoma offense, who is ranked 108th in early down EPA and then 94th in third down success rate. So yeah, I think
Oklahoma has struggled offensively. I mean, for real. I mean, to me, that's the angle. No one's really. I'm not here. Like you have to dig into the data to see that because everyone's just seeing, oh, Nico's going to throw bombs. Maybe not. If Oklahoma's going to be good anywhere on the ball here, it's going to be defensively. But again, if Tennessee's getting a pick 6, you could score, or you could limit this Oklahoma team to 1 or 2 scores. I mean, that's a big deal.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. All right, stuff to keep an eye on for sure with that one. So, all
Plus
right, we
2,000 is the best number currently. Tennessee national championship
plus
plus
2,000.
2,000 is the market. I think those are long gone. If you see a 40-point win, I don't think you're going to see a 40-point romping in the SEC.
Sure.
But this is a unique situation. Oklahoma, this is their first SEC team, first SEC
Yes,
game.
it is.
So maybe the romping is maybe more on the table than I'd like to admit.
We'll see. We'll talk about it next week, most likely, when we come back. But let's zoom out now. We talked about a couple of good matchups for this coming weekend here. Let's hit zoom out. We're 3 weeks in and coming up again on week 4 here. So let's talk about power ratings and the landscape of college football as we speak. So after an interesting weekend, Seth, remind the good people updated top 5 power rankings if you have them for where we put the teams.
It is Ohio State, Georgia, Notre Dame, and Tennessee and Texas are like literally basically 4 and 5, but like by less than like 0.01 points. So and Ole Miss is taking a huge step up, which I hate to see because I'm kind of an Ole Miss hater this season.
I was actually going to ask you, like, are you ready to admit that you might have missed the boat on?
No. Wake Forest. I didn't get to watch the game. I was watching the ESPN updates. Which shout out to ESPN. You got to do better, man. Your app sucks. They like fumbled it like twice in the red zone. Like there was one drive where they were on the 4-yard line, and every time I refreshed, they would go like 10 yards back, like negative play. I'm like, what happened? So I look, I don't think they played real talent yet, and I'm really curious to see what we're going to get out of this team when we get into SEC play. But they have held their side of the bargain, so to speak. They have blown out every team. The biggest thing I can tell you, looking and making these week in and week out over the last couple of years, this is the most truncated I've ever seen this graph be, meaning we actually see usually a huge distribution of who college teams are. This is the most parity I think we've ever seen, where we're seeing contraction basically to the middle of the graph, where every team is getting closer and closer to average, both offensively and defensively. And I thought that was quite interesting because I've never seen that before. Your kind of classic Nebraskas and Iowas who are really good against defensively, but usually, trash offensively. We're seeing these teams regress to the mean as far as average offense, and some of the other teams that are, whatever wonky things they have, we're seeing contraction, except for Air Force.
Okay. All right. Steve, give me one of your not necessarily hot takes, but yeah, understanding we got 3 weeks in the book, still a long season, a lot of games to go still, but team that you're most impressed by so far heading into week 4.
For me, it's Texas. I mean, Texas football with 20 years going down, Arch Manning, kind of stepping in, and yeah, sure. Look, it's UTSA. Let's not get crazy, but this Texas team looks good. And what's the biggest thing we've seen, whether it be Cam Rising or any other starting quarterbacks going down? It's like what happens at quarterback number 2. I mean, you got a Michigan team that has 0 quarterbacks thrown out there, and Texas has 2. So talk about parity and power of distribution and whatnot, or equal distribution. I think this team is just really, really solid from top to bottom. I'm really excited to see what they're going to do in SEC play here, because they are a force to be reckoned with. Good to see Notre Dame bounce back. Not good that it was against us when we had Purdue. That sucked. And then Alabama. If you're looking at this graph here again, it seems like death taxes in Alabama football. It's going to be good. So I'm really excited to see what the SEC looks like, because for once it may not just be Alabama, Georgia as a foregone conclusion. It actually could be a Texas or a sneaky Mizzou or someone else. So I'm really excited for football. Or Tennessee.
UT. Yeah, UT and SEC championship.
Yeah.
Can one of you guys remind me on the specifics? Because I was thinking, like, how it's early in the season again, but how many teams from the SEC could make the playoffs? So you have automatic bids, and then you have your couple slots reserved for just one slot reserved for the G6, right?
Yeah.
G5,
So G5 is
or
one.
G5, sorry.
Yeah, G5
is the highest
one.
ranked winner. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Seth.
No, I was just gonna say basically there's one guaranteed, and pretty much so the top 4 are guaranteed, the power 4. So one of those is the SEC.
Right.
So then subtract 3, then subtract 1 more for the G5. So that's 4 out of 12. So that's 8. So you theoretically could have 8 SEC teams. I don't think it's probable, but I think to your question, how many theoretically? I think it's 8.
Okay. I mean, is it unfathomable even just where we sit here that 5 make it? Let's pull up the landscape again. Okay, because right now, Bama's in, Georgia's in, Tennessee's in, Texas.
But the
Probably.
problem is you got to remember all these teams play each other.
Sure.
So they cannibalize each other. They don't necessarily make it out alive. Like, so right now, yeah, but we know Alabama plays Georgia, Alabama plays Tennessee, Georgia plays Alabama, Tennessee, and Texas. Ole Miss plays, I think, only Georgia. I don't remember if they play Alabama. So, I mean, this comes into the whole angle of the SEC. Like, I think Mizzou plays like none of those teams. I think they play like 1 or 2 of them. They don't play all of them. So, like, that's a huge consideration here. But yeah, I don't know. 5 doesn't sound crazy. It just depends on how good
it sounds crazy to me still.
Yeah. Well, but so put it like this though: if you include Texas and Oklahoma as SEC teams, right, this year, look at the CFP final rankings last year. You had 5 SEC teams in the top 12.
So there you go.
And LSU was number 13 in case something crazy happened.
God bless. Okay. Yeah, we'll see as the season goes on. To your point, Seth, it could be a lot more cannibalization than I'm giving credit for. But
can we talk about Florida State?
Yes.
We haven't.
Talk about nails and coffins.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, can we keep it positive just to start with? Can we talk our shit? Because we were very clearly on Memphis, that Memphis was the better team, both as a spread and a money line. So let's give kudos to ourselves. And now let's trash talk. Go ahead, Seth.
Oh, we'll keep the kudos going. We had under 9.5 wins for Florida State, and that literally cashed 3 weeks in. Like, we didn't even we couldn't have gotten that more right. I don't know that we've ever seen an implode. I still stand by this. I don't understand why Uyunglele is getting all the hate. That team sucks. That whole team sucks. Specifically their defense. They're not even tackling people. They just like try to push them, and they're like, "Oh, you're not gonna go down? Oh, that sucks."
It's bad from top to bottom. It's I don't know how much uglier it could get. I think they play Cal this week. They're only 3-point favorites, 2.5-point favorites.
And I think that opened at like 1 or something, like a pick 'em almost, something like that. Like,
so the spiraling could still be continued.
Can Norvell get fired? Would they fire him? I mean,
I was just thinking the same
crazy thing.
But isn't this like his 3rd time starting? Oh, is it at least 0-2? I think. I don't know about 0-3. I can't remember which one it is, but yeah, I don't know. Something's got to change. Something's not right.
Double shout out to us. We cast a future and called the Memphis game as well. So,
and the Georgia Tech game. Did we bet against them week 2? No, we didn't. We're on Boston College.
Yeah.
We've ridden the slide down, but
all right. It's all right. Yeah, we called that. Now maybe let's take a moderate slice of a
whole. Yeah. We need we need a whole. Well, we don't need a whole, moderate slice is good. We're still profitable. Our model's still profitable.
All right. Moderate slice of humble pie coming up. Let's talk model predictions heading into week 4. So losing week in week 3 here, bringing the running total to 21 and 18 here. A couple of just wild, weird games from this past weekend. It is what it is. A little bit of variance, a little bit of bad luck. That's going to happen throughout the course of the season. So follow up a really good week 2 with the losing week 3. So that's not unreasonable or, to be frankly, unexpected result when you hit zoom out. So that being said,
TCU winning by 21 going in the 3rd quarter. Almost a 7-point CLV edge on Notre Dame or on Purdue. And I mean, talk about
was just
the biggest thing, guys. I can tell you for touts out there, like, we had people telling us like in the live, like, no, Notre Dame is 100% going to win. This is one of the best examples I've ever seen in my life. The literal market bought Purdue all week. No one touched Notre Dame. Literally open at 13.5 all the way to 7. This closed at 7 plus 7 for Purdue. I don't think anybody bought Notre Dame throughout the week. Pretty much the whole professional community was on one side, and we all lost by like 60 or something like this. Like, but that does not mean it was the wrong bet. It's just that outcome looks crazy. But the larger point is, if someone's telling you like, oh, it's so easy to see a bet, but then the whole professional community agrees, which is rarely the case. You should be very wary of that person, and like your red flag should be going off, because why are they the one that's going against the whole market? I mean, that's a question you would want to ask yourself.
Yeah. And efficient market theory, all that, still rings true kind of in the aggregate. But yeah, there are instances where the market gets it wrong. So,
oh yeah, all the time.
Oh, yes. Okay. All right. But let's look forward now. We're turning the page, week 4 here. So got a pretty packed slate. Once again, volume is our friend once again. So Seth, do the honors, man. Let's just kind of rattle off what we got heading into week 4 here.
Yeah. So we have a couple of Friday night games. So we're actually on both of those. So we're on Stanford 9.5 and Illinois +9 on the Friday night cap. And then heading into Saturday, we're on Baylor +1.5, UCLA +23.5. University of Louisiana Monroe +3.5, Northwestern +11.5, JMU Dukes +10.5, Wyoming +10, Texas A&M -22.5, Michigan State +6.5, Tulsa +2, and ECU +6.5. The dogs hopefully are barking this weekend.
Yeah, once again, 2 weekends in a row, pretty heavy dogs.
Yeah. Do we have another one I missed?
Oh, no, I just wanted University of Louisiana, Lafayette.
Oh, Lafayette. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
It just says UL, so I improvised. Lafayette. Sorry, University of Lafayette going up against Tulane. We have University of Lafayette +3.5. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Yeah, all dogs. I think we were on one favorite. Texas A&M. Let's go.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't feel a certain way about it. The process is the process again. Trust the process. Don't necessarily get hung up in 1 week's worth of results. Like that's not a good way to approach these type of things. But yeah, 2 weeks in a row though is fascinating. I mean, we're still early in the season and all that, and the running sample that we have of data going in for all these teams, like it's factoring into some of that. But I don't know, when I see a lot of dogs on the card, man, my palms start getting sweaty. Mom spaghetti,
Well, let me give you some. Let me try to woe your I don't know, stress. Last year we had I think all dogs. We had 9 dogs and we went 9-0. So it can happen.
Yeah,
I think it was week 5.
But I think that's good to your point there earlier, right? I mean, looking at the power rating landscape, we're talking about how contracted these teams are with just exactly with their offensive defensive production and how they're kind of congealing in the middle there. This may be an opportunity to kind of pick up on these teams changing, a little bit quicker than what the market is opening up at least. So
yeah, I'd open. I mean, to be honest, the market's it is where it is since we've opened. And there's been a little bit of negative move for us, but a little bit of positive. I would almost say we're just kind of neutral with these bets. So unlike last week, I feel like there was much more negative CLV. I would say there's been less movement so far. So we'll see. I mean, we're early. I have to say, like someone that's looks at this data over and over and over and have back tested and just lived in it. These first 6 weeks are so choppy because the whole market is basically betting their opinion and their different methodologies. And these get very different answers because there's many different ways to look at these teams, to weight these different variables, to weight who teams were last year versus who they are this year. And so that causes just a ton of volume. And so this, although, the volume is, I don't know, good or bad, you usually see high volume the first, I don't know, let's say 6 weeks, and then it tapers off a lot at getting into like week 12 and 13.
Yeah, should be fascinating. Should be good. It's another solid packed weekend again. So we're hoping, again, like we said, the dogs are barking, baby. We'll see what happens. But
Illinois, I love that Illinois bet.
Yeah,
Friday Night Lights. Let's go.
Feeling good about it. All right, that's coming up in a few days. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Don't forget again to like the video. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're here every week. We're here every week, baby, breaking matchups down, breaking the model down, all the good stuff for you. So we'll be back next week. College football week 5. We'll be here. My God, I can't believe it. So, all right, boys, been real. We'll see you guys next week. Good luck and good night.
See you. Good luck.